Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second 2026 Budget Update Public Engagement Session. My name is Eric Labadie, Manager of Communications, and I will be moderating today's session. Joining us today, we have our Budget Chair, Councillor Brock McGregor, Michael Dubin, Chief Administrative Officer, Gord Quinton, Chief Financial Officer and General Manager of Finance, Budget, Information Technology and Transformation, and Steve Brown, Director of Budget and Performance Services. To help us answer questions submitted throughout our live engagement session, we also have members of our executive management team here as well. If you have any questions, please submit them in the comment section of this live stream, and we will do our best to read them out and provide answers. Please keep your questions concise and civil. For those wishing to learn more about the proposed budget, you can watch the opening night presentation on Your TV Chatham-Kent's YouTube page or visit chatham-kent.ca/ourbudget. We will now begin with a short presentation from our Budget Chair, Councillor Brock McGregor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our online budget information session. This year's budget really is a roadmap towards Chatham-Kent's future. It's guided by Council's strategic direction and the priorities of the people that we serve. You'll see later in tonight's presentation, continued operations come in just under 1%, well below the current rate of inflation of 2%. Chatham-Kent is Canada's 9th largest municipality and one of the biggest in Ontario geographically. We continue to deliver really efficient, high-quality services while keeping taxes low. To put a bit of that geography in context, Chatham-Kent has less than 1% of Ontario's population, and we have 1,500 kilometers of paved roads, 194 kilometers of service-treated roads, 1,600 kilometers of gravel, and about 5% of Ontario's bridges. So a really significant infrastructure challenge within our municipality. Some of the good news over the past number of years, we've seen strong growth in Chatham-Kent. Our population's increased by over 6%. As part of that growth, demand for new infrastructure continues to grow, and the cost of maintaining our existing infrastructure has nearly doubled over the past decade. Despite these pressures, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. Chatham-Kent's economic outlook remains strong. Chatham-Kent's residents pay the lowest property taxes compared to other municipalities in Ontario with over 100,000 in population. When we're preparing this budget, the annual updates every year, it is about maintaining affordability for residents. That's really at the forefront of everyone's mind. At the current tax level, we still pay the lowest average taxes on a home compared to other municipalities, as we can see in the following chart. So this is a number of municipalities with populations over 100,000 and comparing the taxes on a single detached bungalow in all those municipalities. And we can see Chatham-Kent down at the far left in a good position based on Ontario, and we don't anticipate this to change based on this year's budget update, as most of those municipalities, if not all, are facing the same challenges and will likely have similar budget asks this year. One thing to note that we're going to be discussing again in this year's budget is the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, or the OCIF program. And it was designed to help small rural municipalities build and repair essential infrastructure, and was really based on population density and economic conditions, and really is meant to serve municipalities exactly like Chatham-Kent. One of the challenges with this fund is Chatham-Kent is one of 3 municipalities that have a funding cap. So we should be receiving, based on the province's own formula, $29.3 million annually, but right now we're capped at $10 million. So every year this funding cap leaves us with a $19.3 million funding imbalance. Lifting that cap would close that $19.3 million and allow Chatham-Kent to fund more infrastructure and invest more heavily in our community, and allow significantly lower future property tax increases. So when we look at the overall budget increase this year, there's a proposed budget increase of just over 4.9%. And when we break that down, we can look at maintaining existing services, which has a impact of 1.12%. So that's continuing to deliver the same services that we've been delivering year over year, and we're able to do that with a very modest increase that's below inflation. We also have investment into our asset management plan, and then social investments. So things like the transitional cabin program or other costs associated with some of the social challenges we're seeing in Chatham-Kent right now. And then a modest change in services increase of 0.48%. So that's related to things like the CCTV program and an increase in the gravel to paved road conversion program. And we can see, we spoke a bit about the OSIF funding cap. So if that cap didn't exist, our municipal portion of the increase would be 2.92%. But because that cap, we have to increase the municipal portion of infrastructure funding. And this year we're doing that at 2%. So that adds to an overall 4.92% increase. So I do want to take a moment to thank the Budget and Performance Services team who really worked hard on this budget over the past number of months to bring it within the direction provided by the mayor prior to the budget process. So with that, I will turn it over to the moderator, and we will look for questions in the comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor McGregor. We haven't got any questions yet, so if anyone is watching and they have a burning budget question, please send it our way. In the meantime, I'm wondering, Gord, is it possible for you to explain a little bit more about OSIF? We can bring up the map that we brought up yesterday to provide perhaps a little bit more context around the funding.
Thanks, Eric. Yes, Gord Quinton, Chief Financial Officer, and the OCF is. It's important to remember that this is a provincial formula on OCF funding, and how it's calculated. It's actually based on our detailed asset management plans that every municipality across Ontario has been mandated to update last year. And so this is a true reflection on the value of assets in each of these communities and the appropriate amount of funding that everyone should get, except for Chatham-Kent. In Chatham-Kent, the number on the screen, the 10 million, is an artificial cap of 2.5% of the entire OCF funding amount that the province puts available. So there's 400 million across the province. It's meant to go to rural, mainly rural type areas across Ontario. Large cities such as London and Windsor get their own unique funding, but this is for ones that have a significant rural area, such as Chatham-Kent. And the province's own calculations say we should get the $29.3 million annually. So you think of over a 10-year period, we're missing out on close to $200 million of funding. Think about how far that would go, not only to ease property tax increases, but to get things done in Chatham-Kent to resurface roads, replace bridges, and our recreation facilities, and it's just such a significant amount, we can't ignore it. We're have a little bit more of a push this year. We always do, we are very appreciative of all the support that we get from upper levels of government, and example would be with the Wheatley gas disaster last year. We got significant funding to help with that over the last few years, but looking ahead with our asset management plan, we need help, and we just want to bring that to the public's attention and make sure that you're engaging with your MPPs and making the request that Chatham get its fair share. We're not asking for more than everybody else. We're just asking for a fair share. Eric, I see some questions are coming in.
Thank you very much, Gord. We have a question from a resident asking, why is a councillor presenting the budget? Why isn't a municipal staffer presenting the budget? Isn't this bias?
Yeah, thanks for the question. First of all, it's the mayor's budget. This Chatham-Kent was delegated strong mayor powers, and it wasn't a choice of our mayors that are delegated strong mayor powers. It now is the mayor's budget. but in addition to that, we also every term of council, there's a selection of a budget chair. Councillors submit their name if they're interested to, as all our committees are being formed at the start of a council term. And for this term, it's Councillor Brock McGregor is our budget chair. So it's not a bias. We're having the budget chair start off with the presentation. Staff and executive management team have worked since May developing this budget. We now have handed it to council. It's now council's budget to deliberate, and we begin those deliberations next week.
Okay, thank you very much, Gord. We have another question here. This one is likely for Jody. We have, where are we? How much have our expenditures increased over the past 2 to 3 years on social services, such as encampments, harm reduction supplies, and outside mediators, such as rock missions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks so much, Eric. Jody Gilmet, General Manager of Health and Human Services Department. Thank you so much for your question. There's been a lot of, that's a difficult number for me to get off on the spot. Maybe I can talk a little bit about our transitional cabin program and Pathways on Park. We recently transitioned from our emergency shelter program, Victoria Park Place, and recently moved into the cabin programs. And I can tell you that the annual operating budget for the cabin program is about $1.8 million. I'd have to go back and take a look to see how that compares to what the operating costs were for the shelter. The other thing that I might note as well is you are able to go into the website, the municipal website as well, and through the open book portal, you can actually delve down into each of the different expenditure sections and actually kind of get a few more details around what some of the more broad categories are. So I encourage you to take a look at that as well. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Jody. I see that we have our esteemed councillor Anthony Sikachi watching. He's asked a question. He's asked, is it possible to explain the rationale to residents why Chatham-Kent is capped? Many residents are trying to understand why we are one of 3 capped communities.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Scotchy, for the question. But as I've explained to council and as part of our budget presentation this year, it's an artificial cap. It's at 2.5% of the entire $400 million province-wide OCF budget. But you know, we have we've brought delegations to AMO to talk to the Minister of Infrastructure. We've written to our MPPs. We've talked to our MPPs. We've talked to several staff members, and the 2.5% was just that 10 million was a lot of money, and I'm not sure if they're thinking Chatham-Kent residents therefore could pick up the rest or what. Greater Sudbury and Thunder Bay are also hit with this. And as you compare around us, one of the differences from Chatham-Kent from the municipalities around us, Essex County, Lambton County, that get more than us, is that they have upper tiers and lower tiers. So no single municipality there meets that $10 million cap. Where in Chatham-Kent, we're a single tier. So Thunder Bay and Greater Sudbury, by the way, and it seems to be a cap on single tier municipalities. It does not make any sense to me, and I've never heard a valid explanation from anyone that we've asked to date.
Thank you very much, Gord. I think we've got another question that will throw your way. This one is from Mike. He asks, if we removed the 2% OSIF amount, how would that affect services for 2026? And was there any other avenue for that funding that was looked into to cover the shortfall?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So where we look at elsewhere for sources for infrastructure is other programs from upper tiers of government. Um, uh, so 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 we do apply for for many grants that may become available throughout the year. Give you an example, we applied for a $2 million grant to assist in the approximately $5 million cost of upgrading the Blenheim Marina with its new, not only more efficient but environmentally friendly ice plant. The ice plant at the Blenheim Marina is at its end of life. It needs to be replaced anyway, about $5 million. There was a recreation up for aging facilities was a recreation upgrade grant last year, in the last year by the Ontario government. We applied with a extremely quality application, but you know, so I would say sometimes there's political um, reasons why governments with limited funds give funds to some areas rather than others, and you know, it's an example of one of the grant programs that we applied for where we feel we really had a strong application. I just want you to know that we do apply to every grant that we can. We put in quality applications. Um, uh, you know, we're asking the provincial government for help. Either give us the OSIF funding, the base funding that we deserve annually, which would go a long way, or ensure that we're being considered for these one-off grant applications. Um, there was another part of your question. That was only part of it. I think what's 2%? So 1% taxes is $2.2 million. So this 2% OCF is $4.4 million. That pay, you know, that resurfaces a lot of roads, that fixes a few bridges, that goes towards you know, any type of infrastructure projects that we could have, like, and um, it does have a significant impact if council were to choose to just not fund. We'd be doing a loss of those major capital repairs next year.
Thank you very much, Gord. We've got another question for you. This one coming from Larry. He asked, Mr. Quinton, with CK already having major borrowing commitments and thousands of millions or hundreds of millions of more coming, can you please tell us how much we can continue to borrow before it affects the municipality's credit rating?
Yes, thanks for the question. So, uh, um, and thanks, Eric, for putting this on the screen. We basically are debt free at Chatham-Kent on the tax base. There's still I believe it's around in the 25 million or so of debt on our PUC for water and wastewater rates. But at the municipal side, we just have, at the top of my head, it's around $4 million of debt left to pay, and so we're essentially debt free. That is um, that may not be a good thing, and I'll explain why. Um, That is one of the tools that we have, particularly for brand new assets that we're adding, or any type of new capital item that comes along. So and I'll give an example in affordable housing. We we're working hard to, and this might be one of the hundreds of millions of more coming that you're referring to. Affordable housing, we're working diligently on more capital projects coming to increase our affordable housing units in Chatham-Kent. And we'll be, of course, applying to any grants that we can get. But if we wanted to add 100 more affordable housing units, that could cost $40 million, for example. We would hope to get as much as possible, but perhaps only 10 million would come from upper levels of governments, and the other 30 million we don't want to saddle current taxpayers with paying the upfront cost on assets that are going to last decades. So that's about generational equity, and when you add something like 100 more units of affordable housing, you want to make sure that you spread that cost over 20, 25, 30 years. And that's some of the debt that we are looking at for the next term of council. These projects are getting close to being tender ready. And to spread that over time and over generations, it's, I'll call it good debt. It's the right way to fund new things. Keep in mind, we haven't added much new things over the last couple of decades. We've been repairing what we have, and so that was a good philosophy too for council. We called it a pay-as-you-go philosophy, as far as if I'll use a bridge as an example. If a bridge just comes to its end of its life and needs replaced, well, it's not about generational equity. The bridge has been there for the last 75 years as well. So we're big enough. We have over 800 bridges bigger than 3 meters. We're always going to have 20 bridges to build every year. So it makes no sense to borrow for something that you're constantly replacing. It'll just cost more over time with the interest that you pay. But for something new, like adding 100 units more of affordable housing, debt is the way to go, and we're in excellent shape. You mentioned our credit rating, excellent credit rating, and one of the things that the provincial government does is monitor how much debt you can have before they're worried, and that's what's on the screen here. Is it's as a percentage of your own source revenue, how much could we borrow? And at today's general rates, it's close to $1 billion now that we have room to borrow. We're not planning on borrowing that much, but between water and wastewater rates and some of the housing master plans, fire master plans, the upcoming recreation master plans, we will be borrowing for some things in the next term of council.
All right, thank you very much, Gord. I've got another question here from Sue. I believe Councillor McGregor might be able to answer this. Sue asks, what are the core areas that council will look at in order to reduce this tax increase? As a senior on a fixed income, any increase will hurt.
Yeah, so as Gord was mentioning, once administration has taken direction from the mayor, so it's in the new era of strong mayor powers, the mayor gives budget direction. Once that happens, administration develops the budget. It then gets turned back to council or the budget committee, which is in our case all of council, and we have the discretion to modify the budget through that process in any way that we can. So. In the past, we've seen modifications in the amount that we put aside to mitigate inflation. We've seen changes in service levels, for instance, with the amount of gravel that was put on roads at one point. What we have heard in the past from the community in general is that they don't want to see service level changes. So administration hasn't proposed any closures of anything or any modification in service levels. That's not something that I, in the past, have seen council have an appetite to bring forward or want to do. But anything that's within that budget is within the purview of council to look at and change. So we've had this 3-week period between the budget being announced and presented to when we start budget deliberations. So that gives council and committee members time to look through that budget, look for opportunities that they see in savings or modifications, and then bring those forwards through the budget process with public input and make those changes as they see fit as a committee together.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'll bring Gord back up. We've got another question here regarding Councillor McGregor as the budget chair. So the question is, Councillor Brock McGregor has been the budget chair ever since 2018. Why hasn't another councillor been in this role?
I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer that question because it's the mayor. It's between the councillors and the mayor. They decide, they put forward what committees that they want to be in beyond. And so I'm not certain if more than one Councillor Brock McGregor may have been the only one that applied for the job for the last 2 terms, and I suspect that's the case. But really that process and who is selected as budget chair doesn't go through the treasurer. That is a selection of the mayor.
All right, thank you, Gord. We have another question here regarding debt. So is there any debt outstanding for capital costs on the Bradley Convention Center or the Capitol Theatre? Are these assets paid for in full?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So when I was mentioning that the Chatham-Kent's very on the municipal tax side is very close to debt free, the one thing that we do have left is the Bradley Convention Center. We've borrowed for a few new things, like I was saying, we should borrow for new things that we're adding for generational equity. And so when we built the Bradley Center in 2013, instead of just having the taxpayers of the day pay for it all up front, we decided to spread it over 2 generations and have the council of the day decided this, and to have the debt spread over 20 years. So there is, off the top of my head, approximately $3.5 million left on that. The Capitol Theatre we did not borrow for. That was paid immediately in the years that the work was done. Keep in mind the Capitol Theatre wasn't a municipal project when it began, but through a series of events, it was eventually assumed by the municipality to finish. Another example of multi-generational debt that we had as Chatham-Kent is Riverview Gardens, long-term care home in 2004, where we that was about a $40 million project it was a $40 million project at the time. Dollar-wise is one of the biggest projects we've ever done, and that was 20-year debt. So we no longer owe any money for Riverview Gardens, but that's the type of debt that I'm talking about when you're adding new things. We didn't have a convention center before. As Chatham-Kent, that was early on days of Chatham-Kent, of Riverview Gardens. The council of the day there decided, in cooperation with the province, to have 20-year debt on that. Those are the type of generational projects, new exciting things that we add to our communities. Those are the things to borrow over a multi-generational period for generational equity.
All right, thank you very much, Gord. We're going to bring Councillor McGregor back up here, and I think he can shed a little bit more light on the budget chair role appointment.
Sure. So as Gord had mentioned, the mayor makes recommendations for committee appointments. So that is things like sitting on BIAs or the Public Utilities Commission, the Board of Health, the Library Board, Museum Board, those types of things. But ultimately, it's council that approves those appointments. So councillors can indicate their interest in those roles. And when the slate of appointments comes to a open session council meeting, if the councillor wants to be budget chair that's name is not there, they can put their hand up and have their name put on there and vote for it. So ultimately, all those committee positions are something that council votes on together. So we appoint each other to these roles. So the role of budget chair, especially in the strong mayor environment, is I chair the meetings and help in events like this, but ultimately the mayor directs the budget process, and then as a budget committee together, we review and approve and make that recommendation back to the mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor. We haven't got any new questions, so Gord, I'll ask you a question that we've heard a lot in the community, and it's regarding the Chatham-Kent Community Hub. Will the Chatham-Kent Community Hub be raising residents' taxes this year?
Yeah, I think thanks for the question. So as as has been communicated in all of the many meetings that council had leading up to that project, for the last decade, we've been looking to the needs to do some major repairs at the civic centers, and once council as those reports came through, not only did council not approve some major renovations, these are past councils approved major renovations, but they also directed us to hold off on any major repairs. So we had already set some money aside, and since 2015, we've been knowing that we have aging facilities across Chatham-Kent. No facilities getting any younger, and there was a time coming to renew. We had started to put aside a annual budget amount in small increments, approved by the last three councils to continue to put some funds away for future replacements of aging facilities. And so between those existing budgets and with the use of a debenture to spread an estimated $17 million of those costs over a generation, we're able to pay for that within the current budget. So none of the 4.92% increase, there's $0 in that going towards the CK Hub.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Gord. We've got another question here that has come in, so I think we'll bring Edward onto the stage here. Edward, are there any thoughts being given to making major infrastructure projects private-public partnerships to lower the cost to taxpayers?
Thanks, Eric. Good evening, everyone. Edward Soto, General Manager of Infrastructure and Engineering Services. Great question. I would say to you that the majority of projects that we deliver really aren't of the category that would fit underneath a private-public partnership. I've worked on a number of 3P projects in my career in the past, and really you're looking at projects that are north of 100 at a minimum, $200 million. We just simply don't have those kind of projects. A lot of our projects are simple projects where we do the design and then we put it out for tender. And through that tender process is where we get really the best value. 3P projects could be a design build. Those are really meant for very complex, much larger projects. Someone like the Ministry of Transportation, they would do that for a widening potentially of the 401, or a great example would be the 3P project that's being done on the Gordie Howe Bridge. That's the kind of major infrastructure projects really where you would look at something like that. We really don't have projects that are in the realm of the value that would be beneficial for 3P.
Okay, thank you very much, Edward. We've got another question, and I think I can take this one, oddly enough. Someone has asked, why aren't budget meetings in person? Some people don't have access or use computers, including seniors. So we hold our public engagement sessions more often than not virtually. because they can significantly boost participation because residents can join from home, from work, or on the go without needing to travel or arrange childcare, those sort of things. It also reduces costs, it reduces logistics. And we have no rooms to book. We have no transportation needs. Virtual meetings can also be recorded easily, improving transparency and allowing people to watch later. Overall, I think they make engagement more flexible, accessible, and efficient for both the public and the municipality. All right, we don't have any other questions coming in at the moment here. So I'm wondering, Edward, we had a question yesterday about rural residents, which was something around rural residents are concerned about what they get out of this budget. What is included in the capital budget for rural residents?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Edward Sobel, General Manager of Infrastructure and Engineering. I don't know if you have the slide that we had presented during the opening session. Thank you very much. This is a great slide that really shows our core assets and our spending on core assets. And for the residents out there that are wondering what are core assets, they're really things like our roads, water, wastewater, our bridges, our stormwater management funds. Those are core assets underneath our asset management plan. And in the budget that we have being proposed and moving forward, it's about $90 million is being spent on those core assets. And it's really distributed amongst the asset types I just talked about. And it's really about a 50-50 split. So, of that $90 million, $45 million is being spent on rural roads. It's being spent on bridges in the rural areas. It's being spent on stormwater facilities like down in Tilbury and those kind of locations. So when we look at our projects, we always look at what is up in terms of what's the greatest need. And given the fact that we are a large part of our municipality is of a rural nature, a lot of our assets actually are in those areas, and we're spending the money obviously in those areas distributed across the municipality. So it's about a 50-50 split in the 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Just going back to the previous question, I would like to say that our budget deliberation meetings are being held in person. They begin next Tuesday, and people are encouraged to bring their deputations to the meeting on Tuesday. And next we'll go to Michael. Michael, we've got a question here. Are there any service levels being reduced or eliminated in this budget to control costs, or is this budget largely just to maintain existing services?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It is largely to maintain existing services. The mayor's direction from way back in the spring, I think it was very clear that he didn't want to impact any services. In particular, didn't want to impact any rural services. So you might recall that last year when we were discussing the budget, there was more discussion about closure of libraries and fire halls and things like that. So this year, the direction from the mayor was very clear that we wouldn't be entertaining that. You can see that the budget increase on the slide for maintaining services is 1.12%. I think that is something that we're proud of, quite frankly, because with the cost of living and inflation, even just collective agreement contract increases, all of that is significantly more than 1.12, but we've managed to keep that very, very low, and something that we always strive to do. If we had just put inflation down alone, it would have been higher than that. So we're always looking at how can we be more efficient. There's another slide that I don't know if that's available, but in terms of staffing, yes, we have seen increases in police, and we've also seen increases associated with the cabin project. But other than that, over the last 10 years, if you exclude those two that I just talked about, the staffing for the cabins and for police services we've actually added 10.34 full-time employees on the tax base from 2018 to 2027. Just to be clear, it's not 10.34 a year. That's the total. So that's barely over one staff person over that period of time. I'm not sure how much longer that's going to be sustainable, because as everybody sees, the community is growing. We're getting pulled into more and more services. Chatham-Kent is one of those communities where we don't have help from any other level of government. We do everything. If you look at some of our neighbors next door, either to the west or to the north, there are upper tiers and then there are lower tiers. So, for instance, you look at Essex County, there are certain things that the county does, and there are certain things that the lower tiers do. So if you a place like Leamington, which is right next door to us, they're not responsible for a lot of the services that we are responsible for. They're not required to have a long-term care home. We are. They have no involvement in public health. We have to run public health. Even housing and social services is done by another entity as opposed to Leamington. But here in Chatham-Kent, we do everything. And so, that's why we have a larger staffing complement. But like I said, we've managed to maintain our numbers very low. And I've only added, other than police services and pathways, we've only added 10.34 full-time employees all the way back to 2018. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michael. I believe the next question will go over to Gord here. Sorry about the background noise. There we are. Actually, this may be for Edward. Apologies. So we have a question here that reads, to the best of my knowledge, the Parks and Rec Master Plan has not been approved by Council as yet. How will that impact the budget? Will Council assume it will be passed and factored into the budget?
Thanks, Eric. Excellent question. The staff has been undertaking the Parks and Rec Master Plan over the course of the last year. We've had a number of public meetings. We've identified in the last plan and the last public consultation all the projects that are being considered. So the resident is correct. It hasn't been passed as of yet. It's coming to Council after the budget process. And in terms of what's in the Parks and Rec Master Plan, there are many projects that are new, but there's also many projects that had been already considered in the past, and they were built into the plan for the Parks and Rec Master Plan. So in the first couple of years of the capital budget that's coming up, there is some projects that already have been identified and passed. So they are considered as part of this capital budget, but there will be many new projects that still have to be approved by Council. If Council approves those new projects in the Parks and Rec Master Plan, that will be then put into future updates of the capital budget.
Okay, thank you very much, Edward. And a quick question for you again. Is a new fire station in the 2026 budget?
Yes, as part of the capital budget, we have funds set aside related to working on the fire station itself. So there's money set aside to deal with potential design costs as we move forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And we'll bring Gord back up here. We have a question from Mike here. He writes, is there anything any of you could say to reassure taxpayers that this increase is necessary and that CK is running an efficient municipality?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Ultimately, that's Council is in charge of the budget. We prepared a draft budget, and it's been handed over to Council, and they need to decide the priorities and what our appropriate tax increase would be. All we can, as staff, we can use it as efficiently as possible. And I know when I was talking about OCF back 30 minutes ago, I was pointing it out how funding around us is different depending whether you're a single tier a county in lower tier system, this is one of the places where Chatham-Kent shines is the efficiencies. In Essex County, there's 7 treasurers, there's 7 CEOs, there's 7 directors of planning, and throughout the organization. In Chatham-Kent, there's just one. There's only one council, 18 councillors, moving to 15 in the next election. But if you add up the total number of politicians in Essex County, you're probably topping 200. So those are some of the efficiencies that a single tier brings. And the council actually asked this question in the last term of council, and they put some money aside to hire a consultant to evaluate the issue. And so there's an item called the KPMG base budget services review that was done in 2021, I believe. That studied this exact thing, and what their conclusion was is overall we're a very lean run organization delivering the services that we provide over such a geographical size of Chatham-Kent. And so we pride on that, on being low cost. If you look at the BMA study, another independent study that we participate in annually, they break it down much further. They go service by service by service and compare our costs per resident to municipalities across the province. And if you look in those details as well, we're usually on the lower end. Not always, but for most of our services, we're usually on the lower end. So I think you are getting. I'm saying not just me saying that, but those 2 examples of a third party reviews are saying that we're running a very efficient municipality at lower cost. And back to at the beginning when Brock was doing his presentation, when they showed the average tax bills in Chatham-Kent versus about 40 other municipalities that have 100,000 population, we're at the lowest taxes across the board. So, we do say we're doing things efficiently. Our other argument though is that I'm putting forward that more of our costs should be shared with the provincial government, particularly, and the federal government. To use one more example, provincial roads that were downloaded, the former number 3 highway, number 2 highway 21, part of highway 40, and so on and so on and so on. They were downloaded. We were given about 2 years worth of funding, and then it's been up to Chatham-Kent taxpayers just to foot the bill. You slide into Essex County, and I'm picking on them lots tonight. You slide into Essex County, and all of a sudden it's number 3 highway is a provincial road, with the province putting in $600 million over a 10-year period to widen number 3 highway from Windsor to Leamington. Then you slide into Chatham-Kent, and our council has been asking the province to help us with the erosion problem that we have on Talbot Trail. And it is one of the items in our capital budget. It will be, we will fix it, but boy, it would be nice to have some provincial help with that. They can put 500 million into the exact same road just 10 kilometers away. I guess I just want to emphasize that's our real problem is help from upper levels of government.
All right, thank you very much, Gord. Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
I do. Thank you, Gord. In particular, I know the question talked about the acquisition of vacant properties, and if we can maybe speak to that. So a couple of things. I certainly staff has been recommending to council to consider some of these vacant properties as they've come up. I think there's a few things to consider there. So first of all, one of the reasons why staff are recommending that is because this government and previous governments have been very clear that in order for you to get funding for certain projects, in particular housing, but there was a time that even applied to daycares, things like that, you had to have some shovel-ready projects. And if you don't own property, then you definitely don't have shovel-ready projects. So that's one of the reasons why we've been encouraging council, and for the most part, council has supported that. We have acquired some properties, either former nursing homes or former schools, with the intention of at some point developing that into some form of housing along the spectrum, but hoping that there'll be dollars from upper levels of government. We recently did get some dollars from upper levels of government for the Pathways on Park project, 3.8 million, and we're hoping that some of these other properties that we own will also generate some funding opportunities. The other thing is, generally speaking, you've got to look at land as an investment. Rarely does the value of land go down. If for some reason we don't get the funding, or we end up focusing on some other project, we don't need that land, then there's always the opportunity for us to sell that land. And having control of that land is better than not having control, because it allows us to make sure that it is being used for a use that council and the community support. The other thing is, we find that with some properties that become vacant, the private sector isn't necessarily motivated to take great care of it. So it ends up becoming a blight on the community. We have a number of those in Chatham-Kent. I'm not going to name where, but many of you know we have some properties that have been vacant for quite some time. One of the things we do as a municipality is if there's an old building on it, we take the building down as soon as we can. So at least we don't have this building that's standing up there that is not being used and not taken care of, and that generates other challenges. So those are some of the reasons why we have looked at vacant properties and acquired some of them. To be clear, we have not acquired all of them that have come our way. We've looked at some that don't seem to have any need for us in the short term. My hope is that all of them will come eventually. We'll get some funding for it, and we'll see some housing built on them. But if not, then at some point we'll be able to get rid of them. The other thing too is, you'll see very soon, we're going to be encouraging the public sector to put in some bids. The private sector to put in some bids. The private sector generally doesn't get involved in affordable housing or housing, sort of further down the spectrum, because they can't make money off of it. So by us purchasing some property, we may be able to use that property to leverage members of the private sector, developers and builders, to come in and help us with our challenges when it comes to attainable and affordable housing. So stay tuned. We're hoping that that's going to be a success story down the road. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. This is could be a question for the both of you here. Which services would the municipality need to stop providing to reach a 0% tax increase? Can the pain be spread proportionally around the municipality?
So I can start off. For it is council's budget, and if they want us to stop a service, we'll look at that. What council has told us, and we did go through a period where we were asked to look at bridges, for example, on which ones should be divested, or for example, not lift them anymore if they were going over a river, or things like that. There's been some roads that were very short that had expensive bridges on that we thought would have less than a kilometer detour to get around, that was recommended to be divested. Every time those came to council, or the majority of times that those came to council, the public was very vocal on do not close our road, do not stop our service, do not municipal service centers was something in the last term of council as well that we were looking at. So we've heard it loud and clear over and over again, do not cut our services. But ultimately, it's council's decision. the other thing I wanted to point out, and this is a repeat of what I said yesterday, but upper levels of government don't have to ask for their inflation increase each year. They automatically get it. As wages go up, income tax revenues into the provincial and federal coffers go up. As prices go up, HST revenues go up. For municipal tax dollars, you have to ask for it. So I know Michael went through where our cost of operations only went up 1.12%, where inflation right now we're sitting at 2% for the last year. So we have to ask for that 2%, and we have an aging infrastructure and our asset management plan pointing that we need about 2.5% just for infrastructure on top of that. And so, if the public wants services to stop, they can talk to their counselors and give them ideas. But in the past, the public has been very clear: do not close our facility, do not close our road. Keep what we have and maintain them the best you can with the money that you have.
Okay, thank you very much, Gord. Going back a little bit, we have a follow-up question to the KPMG study that you mentioned. Would it be possible for the next term of council to what does it say here? I'll read it verbatim here. Is it possible for the new for the October 2026 council to relook at the 2021 KPMG efficiency study?
Absolutely. That study had several recommendations. If anybody listening today hasn't heard about it and wants to look at it, just go to our website under local government and down to the budget and finance area. And in there, you'll find all the past BMA studies that I talked about tonight, and the KPMG efficiency study. This council has considered many things in there, and as an administration, we're always searching for efficiencies and that's one of the ways that we got from up over 8% a few months ago down to the 4.92% that we presented to council is by looking for efficiencies. I'll give you one example. I know we're getting to the end of our time, but the deputy CA role, there was actually some eliminations of other positions and a savings of 164,000. Those are the efficiencies that we're constantly looking for. Even with artificial intelligence, we're working with our staff. Can everyone become even 2% more efficient in their daily work through new technology? That's what we do at the municipality as a management team. We're always looking for efficiencies and trying to keep this down as far as possible.
Thank you very much, Gord. And we have posted the link to that KPMG study in the chat here. This may be a question for Michael. I'm not sure if you'll know this off the top of your head, but what percentage of CK office workers are currently working from home?
Thank you. It's a very small percentage. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. It's under 10%. Keep in mind that so many of our employees don't have that option. we have folks in long-term care, for instance, who for the vast majority don't have that option. Obviously, our firefighters don't have that option. We have folks that work in customer service that manage our facilities. Many people out on the roads, whether they're repairing roads or repairing signs on the roads, there's only a small percentage of people that are in the office. And of that group, not all of them have the ability to work from home. So we've looked at it, and it's a small number. In fact, we don't talk about it corporately all that much because there's so many people who actually don't have that privilege at all, and kind of wondering why are we always talking about it, because it's a small group of people that are impacted by it. That we do have some folks in IT that have the ability to work from home, but they're efficient from home because they have access to whatever systems they need to work on, and it doesn't really make sense for them to come into the office. So it's a small number. I'm pretty certain it's under 10% that even have the ability, and of that group that have the ability, there's just a portion that actually take advantage of it. I did want to, if I could, just comment on the service level question that Gord was asking. I think a lot of people don't realize it's a complex organization, and that there's a lot of services that we provide that even council doesn't have the ability to impact. We're in the long-term care business because by law we're required to be in a long-term care business. Even when it comes to road maintenance and winter control, there are so many different levels of service that we are required to provide by the province. So it is difficult for council, admittedly, to be able to look at our services because so many of them are driven by legislative requirements. Even in long-term care, the amount of hours of care you provide per resident is dictated by the province. The other thing is we have a number of services that we provide that are 100% funded by the province. One of them, for instance, is early on, 100% funded by the province. So there's really no benefit to even look at eliminating that service, because people will suffer for no reason and it will have zero impact on taxes. We look at paramedic services, which is shared approximately 50-50 with the province, and there are standards there that we have to meet as well. So when it does come down to service level, and this is why Gord made the comment that council generally doesn't seem, and the public generally don't have the appetite to reduce the service levels, because there's only a few areas where that can be done. And those are areas that are very much a big part of the community. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. We've got our last question of the evening, once again from Councillor Anthony Sikachi. He asks, staff have summarized the challenges we have encountered due to lack of infrastructure funding. However, is it possible to provide a summary of the inequitable homelessness prevention funds? Many communities are experiencing an influx of millions of dollars. Can you please summarize how much additional resources we have been provided by the province? And we'll bring Councillor Brock McGregor up here.
Thanks. Yes, Councillor Scotch and I have talked about this quite a bit around the council table, and one of the examples that both of us have spoken about is encampment funding. So on this map, we can see that as part of encampment funding received last year to deal with issues around encampments, Chatham-Kent received $282,000. Our neighbors just to the north, Lambton County, received $2.9 million. Our neighbors to the east, City of St. Thomas, $4.1 million. Kind of interesting, Norfolk County, about 80,000 people, received $5.3 million. So we're not sure why that discrepancy is there. We've also, queried about what that calculation looks like, knowing the need that's here in Chatham-Kent, knowing the needs that are in Sarnia-Lambton, Norfolk County. Everyone does numeration studies, has an idea of their homelessness situation, encampment issues. And I think Councillor Sakachi and I both agree that this is a bit of a head scratcher. We also saw this similar announcement when the province announced heart hubs, which are centers meant to deal with homelessness and addictions and mental health issues. We saw a number of our neighbors, Windsor-Essex County, London, Sarnia-Lambton, receive funding for those centers, and Chatham-Kent did not. So it's part of the trend that unfortunately we've seen in some of these funding envelopes, and is particularly impactful when we're thinking about investment in housing and vulnerable people.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor. So we have reached our time. I'm going to bring our budget chair and CFO back on screen with us. Just some things for consideration as we wrap up. Budget deliberations will begin next Tuesday on November 25th from 6 to 10 p.m. in council chambers. If you would like to submit a written deputation prior to the budget deliberation meeting, you can send them to Budget and Performance Services at ckfps@chatham-kent.ca by noon on the 25th. All deputations for this year's budget are being held on opening night. All of this information and more is available at chatham-kent.ca/ourbudget. So thanks everybody for joining us. Councillor McGregor, are there any final comments you would like to make before we sign off?
Yeah, just want to thank all staff that have been available over these past couple of days for the online sessions, as well as for their work developing the budget under the mayor's direction, and really want to express appreciation to members of the public that have provided input in the various ways that we have solicited that. So whether it's through online input or these two sessions, whether it's going to be through budget deliberations or emails to committee members, emails to council members, phone calls. This process is about balancing affordability, investment in the community. I know that my colleagues on the budget committee on council take it really seriously. That public feedback means a lot. And we're taking the time over this couple of weeks to look at this budget, make some considerations, and then we'll engage in that discussion and debate next week, and we'll take ownership over the budget and ultimately make those decisions that are important for the community. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Brock. And I'll just add that this is the third year of a 4-year multi-year budget. But I encourage anyone that has any questions or wants to learn more about the budgets, either the multi-year budget or this year's update, please visit the website. All the materials there. You can read the business cases, why they were being recommended, what problem they're there to solve, and just to encourage people to become more educated in the budget process. 4.92. I know, of course, nobody likes the idea of increasing taxes. I'm pretty sure we're 100% unanimous across electors on that. But you need to understand where the costs are coming from, and that's what's in those budget documents. So I just encourage you to if you have some time, go online and read through them. And thanks for your questions tonight.